We have Sam Howell here in Seattle. What could be better?
Yeah. I actually, I hope you're not saying it tongue in cheek. I think you guys just made a really astute move. I left our season going, I think, right place, right time, different circumstances here. I've been talking about this on my airwaves in D.C. for the last few weeks. If you tell me in a few years this guy turns into Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't be surprised. So I think you're taking a shot on a really, really good player who's got a big upside that was in a very difficult situation last year. And because everything's different here and because we have the number 2 overall pick, we're moving on.
Why the Kirk Cousins comp?
Because I think he's got a similar skill set and ability with the predicate of I think he is probably a touch more mobile than Cousins is, but I think he can become a very, very good pocket quarterback with the ability to extend some plays with his arm. He's accurate. I think he's got a long way to go, and this is a really I was curious how this conversation was going to go because I wanted to see where he would go. Because this is I don't know how deep you want to get into it. This is an extremely layered, complicated story, really, with him. And I'll go back to just like what I said to you from the get-go. I think under different circumstances, I don't think this team would be trading him. But because they have the number 2 overall pick, because that might be Drake May, who happens to be a really good friend of his, because it might be Jaden Daniels, and they're going to go in a very different direction with their offense. They're in a situation where I don't know if doesn't fit is the right way to put it. It's just more like his time and place is not here. But I think he's got a time and place for sure. And in the right circumstances, I think he could become a very, very good high-level quarterback.
What does he do best?
He's very accurate, number one. The one thing I would say to you about, him as a personality that I'd like to see grow is I think if his coaching staff empowers him to be a little more vocal, he deferred to the coaching staff almost a little too much, in my opinion. I mean, part of the story here is Eric Bieniemy came in, so it's a new offense. It's an extremely shaky situation with a sale happening and a coach who's a lame duck coach if they don't win. He then installs Sam Howell to play. He's got almost no experience playing. All off of one game in Week 18 that wasn't for the playoffs the year prior. They were searching for answers at quarterback for 4 years here. They give him a shot to do it. And, he like a lot of the players, as the season kind of progressed, didn't probably push back enough to what was happening in terms of game planning and on the field. Like I said, this was a rough situation for them. Here's this inexperienced player behind a bad offensive line, throwing the ball by week 8 or 9, 10, 70% of the time. They were the highest pass-to-run ratio team in the NFL. Make sense of that. So I think there's a lot here that you'll look at and you'll go, okay, I think there's in the right place, right time. This is a different situation. He also was tracking by week 10, week 11 to be the most sacked quarterback in the history of the NFL in a single season. So he had taken a bazillion hits, and then the team went sideways, and then I think he lost his confidence as things kind of progressed and went along. He was taking so many hits, and he started having that proverbial seeing ghosts thing, feeling a little bit of pressure that he didn't feel early. But I want to go back to what I saw early in the season, which is he's tough. He's willing to take a hit. He'll put his body on the line. Hopefully he'll do a little less of it. And maybe last season will kind of teach him a lesson about that. But he's extremely accurate. You guys saw it when we went up there and he had the comeback in the fourth quarter against you all. Mm-hmm. He threw a touchdown pass on the final play of the game in Philadelphia that sent them to overtime and had a chance to win. The guy's a gamer. Accurate. Players love him. Very coachable. Great guy in the locker room. I just want to hear him become more vocal and take more ownership of the position, and that's what I would say to your coaching staff up there. Allow him to do that.
Yeah, we're talking to Bram Weinstein, who is the voice of the Commanders, hosts a show in D.C., former SportsCenter anchor, and he and I used to host shows together occasionally on ESPN Radio, which is how I know Bram and why he's been on the show as many times over the years as he has been. It's clear. I mean, some of those upsides are fantastic, and some of those strengths. How does a Seahawk fan put that together with leading the league in sacks, leading the league in interceptions, with a pretty high interception percentage too? What is it? A decision-making thing? Is it a bad offensive fit? Was it just, as you said, seeing ghosts? What led to all the picks?
So the picks started to kind of pick up as the season progressed, for sure. And I would just I would attribute it more to some of it was just inexperience, young quarterback getting his first real go under tremendous amount of pressure. A lot of it was not his fault. They had a poor offensive line. That's one of the things that's like being rectified. I mean, we're getting a whole new team here, but they're rectifying that, and it needed to be rectified. So they put him in a situation where he's throwing the ball, the preponderance of the plays. There was one game, I can't believe this happened. There was one game, I think it was Chicago on Thursday night, when they got beat by the Bears, who were winless at the time. They lost them at home on Thursday night. And they didn't throw a single pass. They didn't run the ball once in the second half. Not once. So the circumstances that were around him, I don't think were ideal for developing him. I would describe it as they didn't protect him. Now, some of the interceptions are clearly on him. Some of the sacks are on him. Like, this isn't all just the poorest offensive line. Like, he was slow to get rid of the ball. He was hanging on too long. He was taking, he wanted to extend plays. His body took a beating for it. And those are, I would say, knocks on him, but they're knocks that you would have on any young quarterback who's inexperienced. And I am more inclined to believe, and I truly believe this, that he's got a big upside if he ends up in the right place with the right coaches who protect him and develop him a little more, which is why I said, in a couple of years, right place, right coaching, he develops. I think you might be very surprised how high end of a quarterback he may be.